All right, so you know you're here because you want to go beyond the headlines, right?
Absolutely. You want to get into the nuts and bolts of how this league really works.
Yeah, you want the why behind the what.
That's right.
And today we're going deep inside the NFL rule book.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the proposed rule changes that the teams have submitted themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
These are the ideas. These are the chess moves that the teams are thinking about to give them a leg up.
Yeah, this isn't just, sitting on your couch and, Monday morning quarterbacking. This is getting into the minds of these coaches and these GMs to see how they're trying to shape the game going forward.
Yeah.
And we're talking everything from like game day tactics, specific plays, all the way up to like
playoff structures,
roster management,
all of it.
Like this is really the engine room of the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating because you get to see the push and pull, right?
Right.
Certain teams obviously, like what's best for them, and it doesn't always benefit everybody else.
Right.
And so it's really interesting to see the proposals that are coming in because it kind of gives you an idea of who's trying to accomplish what and how they're trying to get there.
So let's get right into it.
Okay.
Let's start with a play that I know has gotten a lot of people talking.
Yes.
It's been called the tush push.
The tush push.
And if you've never seen this play, we're talking about that short yardage situation where the quarterback sneaks it.
Right.
And basically gets pushed from behind by his teammates.
Yeah, right over the goal line.
Right over the goal line.
Happens all the time now.
Right, and it's the Green Bay Packers.
Of all teams.
Of all teams that are the ones that have proposed banning this play.
Right.
And it's really interesting to kind of hear their perspective on this.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of it stems from what Packers GM Brian Gutekunst said at the Combine.
Yeah.
Where he basically said, it hasn't really been adopted successfully by a lot of teams beyond a few.
Right.
So, I think it's something that they're looking at and saying, is this really, the type of play that should be in the NFL?
Right. And we talk about the teams that have had success with it. I mean, you can't not talk about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, the Eagles have this down to a science.
They have this down
with Jalen Hurts.
To a science with Jalen Hurts. I mean, over the past 3 seasons, they've used this in these crucial short yardage situations
all the time. Yeah.
And it's been so effective.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, I mean, they used it in the Super Bowl.
They did. They used it in the Super
Bowl 59. They beat the Chiefs 40-22, a decisive victory.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to one side of this, right?
Sure.
Where you have the Eagles, who's clearly, put in the coaching, figured out the nuances of how to do this properly.
Right.
And it works for them.
Right.
But, you have the other side where you have other teams looking at it and saying, well, why can't we replicate this?
Right.
And is this something that, should be in the game if not everyone's going to be able to use it successfully?
So let's talk about, what's the actual wording of the rule?
Oh.
What would teams not be allowed to do?
So essentially, no offensive player can immediately at the snap, push or throw their body weight against a teammate who's lined up behind the center,
okay,
who received the snap,
okay,
to help them gain forward progress.
So basically no more pushing.
No more pushing.
Right.
And that would be a 10-yard penalty.
Wow, a 10-yard penalty. I mean, that's
huge.
That could change the whole complexion
absolutely.
Of a short yardage situation.
Particularly in those, goal line stands or, 3rd and 1.
Right.
It could completely flip the script.
So this is where, the debate really gets interesting. Yeah.
Why is there so much controversy over what seems like a pretty basic football play?
Right.
What makes it so effective for the Eagles, but seemingly difficult for others to master?
Well, I think that's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
You have people saying, this is just superior technique. It's superior teamwork. They're not doing anything illegal.
Right.
It's just they're better at it. And, they're being punished for finding a unique advantage.
Right.
On the flip side, you have people saying, this isn't really traditional football.
Right.
This direct pushing element, is it really within the spirit of how you're supposed to gain forward progress?
Right.
And they would argue that it creates this competitive disparity that's hard for other teams to overcome.
So it really comes down to like,
Yeah, it's a philosophy.
What is a legitimate offensive strategy in the NFL?
Yeah. What are we trying to accomplish here?
And it makes you think, right? Like beyond just brute strength.
What are the Eagles really doing that's making this play work for them so well?
Right.
Is it the angle of the push? Is it the coordination of the offensive line? Is it, Jalen Hurts' low center of gravity?
I mean, he is built like a tank.
He is. It's clearly more than just a shove.
No, it's a lot more than just a shove.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was just about pushing power, you'd expect more teams to be able to do it.
Right.
And they don't.
Right.
So it's got to be some kind of, combination of specific techniques, timing, who knows? Coaching, all of the above. And that's kind of what makes it so interesting, right? Because there's clearly something that they've unlocked that other teams haven't been able to quite figure out yet.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about a proposal that could really shake up the playoffs.
Yes.
This is coming from the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
And they've proposed that playoff seeding should be based solely on overall record. So we would do away with the automatic top 4 seeds for division winners.
Okay, so just straight up best record gets the highest seed.
That's right.
Interesting.
And this is really interesting because it kind of begs the question,
Yeah.
Do we value regular season success?
More than divisional dominance.
More than divisional dominance.
Right.
And the Lions are basically saying, look, if a team has a better record, they deserve a better playoff spot.
Interesting.
Regardless of how they did in their division.
I like it.
And think about it. We've seen so many times a team with a worse record gets to host a playoff game because they won a weaker division.
For sure.
Over a team that had more wins but maybe had a tougher schedule or something.
Absolutely. I mean, look at last year.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings had a better record than the Bucs.
Right.
Who won their division.
The Bucs won their division.
Yet the Vikings had to travel.
Had to travel for a wild card game.
Right. And the Chargers, too.
The Chargers. Same thing.
More wins than the Jaguars.
More wins than the Jaguars, and they had to travel.
Yeah, and they had to go on the road.
So under this proposal, the Vikings, with their superior record, they would hosted that wild card game.
Wow, that's a big change.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
I mean, it could really shake up.
It would completely reshuffle the playoff bracket.
The entire playoff picture, right? And it could lead to, potentially more fair matchups.
For sure.
That actually reflect how teams did during the regular season.
Absolutely.
Now it's not like winning your division.
Right.
Doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't mean anything.
The Lions' proposal does include a tiebreaker.
Oh.
So if 2 or more teams have the same record, winning the division would be the first tiebreaker.
Okay.
So it's like they're trying to strike this balance between rewarding regular season success, but also
maintaining that divisional competition.
Just keeping the importance of winning your division.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think? Does this seem like a more fair way?
I think it is. I think it does.
To speed the playoffs?
I think it does create a little bit of, what are we playing for here at the end of the season?
Right.
If if a team's already clinched the playoff spot.
Right. Are they going to rest their starters?
Exactly. Are they going to rest their starters?
Right.
Because the importance of winning the division, while it's still there, isn't as significant.
Right.
As it is now.
As it is now.
So that's definitely something that, the league would have to think long and hard about.
Yeah. I mean, for you listening.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Right.
Is this a good idea?
Yeah.
It's a bad idea.
Does it make things more fair, or does it take away from that excitement of those divisional matchups at the end of the season?
All right, let's move on to another topic that always gets people fired up.
Yeah.
Overtime. The Philadelphia Eagles again.
Back at it.
Okay. They've proposed a change to overtime.
Okay.
And they want to overhaul it.
Right.
They want to make it so that both teams in the regular season get an opportunity to possess the ball.
So just like the playoffs.
Just like the playoffs.
Okay.
So this would do away with the current system where you win the coin toss, you score a touchdown.
Game over.
Game over, you know, and we've heard from NFL executive Troy Vincent, who's been pretty vocal about wanting to,
reduce the impact of the coin toss.
Reduce the impact of that coin toss. Because right now, it really does seem like
It's a huge advantage.
It's a big advantage to win that toss.
It is. And it's not just a feeling.
Right.
The numbers back it up.
The numbers back it up.
From 2017 to 2024.
Yeah.
Teams that got the ball first in overtime won almost 57% of the time.
That's huge.
And that's up from about 55%, prior to the 2011 rule change.
Right.
So even with the changes they made, to make it not pure sudden death,
right,
it's actually become more of an advantage,
right,
to get the ball first.
So the Eagles' proposal is directly trying to
level the playing field.
Yeah. And address this imbalance that we're seeing.
Make it more fair.
Yeah. So how would they actually change the overtime?
So they would extend it from 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
And the game would continue even if the first team with the ball scores a touchdown.
Oh, wow. So both teams are guaranteed.
Guaranteed a possession.
A possession.
Unless the first team scores a touchdown and then gets a 2-point conversion.
Gotcha.
So basically, they're trying to create a situation where both offenses get a chance to touch the ball and have a chance to win the game.
So no more of these games ending on the first possession.
Exactly. Especially if it's just a field goal.
Yes.
It's kind of anticlimactic.
It is.
You want to see some back and forth.
Right.
You want to see
some drama.
Yeah, a little bit more action.
So this would definitely lead to
for sure
some more exciting finishes.
Yeah, more satisfying conclusions to games that go into overtime.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's run through some of the other proposed rule changes.
Okay.
And we'll do this kind of rapid fire.
Anyway.
So the Lions, they have another proposal on the table.
Okay.
And they're saying that illegal contact and defensive holding penalties should no longer automatically result in a first down.
Oh, interesting. So what are we thinking here? What kind of impact would that have?
I mean, I think it would really change how defenses play right now.
Right.
Those penalties are so costly.
They are. It's a big chunk of yardage and an automatic first down.
Right. You give up the yardage and then...
And they're fresh set of downs.
You give them another 4 downs.
It's a killer.
To work with.
Yeah.
So if this rule were to pass, I mean, you got to think.
Defenses might be a little bit more aggressive.
Knowing that a minor infraction isn't going to completely kill them.
It's trying to automatically extend the drive.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it could really change how teams approach those third down situations.
Third downs especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now, you got to be so careful.
You got to play it safe.
You can't get that flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
They've got a proposal that deals with the pre-free agency negotiating window.
Okay.
They want to allow teams to have one video call or phone call with prospective unrestricted free agents and their agents during this period.
So right now it's just agents?
Right now it's just agents.
Okay.
And they also want to allow teams to arrange travel for these players.
To bring them in.
But the travel can't start until after the new league year begins.
Okay, so you're not, stealing guys before they're allowed to be stolen.
Right.
Okay.
So this is really about,
It's about communication.
Allowing teams to really, get to know these players.
Get a sense of their interests.
See if they'd be a good fit.
Yeah, see if there's a fit there.
And the players can also...
learn more about the team.
And the travel arrangements. That just makes things more efficient.
It just streamlines things.
Yeah, so it could lead to a much, faster-paced free agency period.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's so much back and forth.
It's crazy.
Between the agents and the teams. And
yeah.
You don't really know what the player's thinking until the very last minute.
All right, the Lions.
Okay.
They've got another proposal.
They're busy.
They are busy this year.
Yeah.
And this one deals with injured reserve. So they're proposing that players who are placed on injured reserve before or on roster cutdown day to the 53-man roster should not count against the team's 90-man off-season roster limit unless they're designated to return later in the season.
Interesting.
So this could really change how teams manage their rosters.
So you're saying that if a guy's hurt and he's not going to be ready for the season,
right?
You can put him on IR.
You put him on IR.
And it doesn't count against your 90.
Doesn't count against your 90.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal because right now, teams have to make these tough decisions.
Yeah. Do we keep this guy on the roster even though he's hurt?
Yeah.
Or do we cut him into take a chance on someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this would give teams a lot more flexibility.
A lot more flexibility.
Yes, yeah. Especially when you're trying to evaluate young guys.
Right.
Undrafted free agents, guys that need a little bit more time. They could bring in more guys to look at.
Exactly.
Without being penalized for the guys who are hurt.
It's a smart proposal.
So it could lead to more competition in training camp.
Absolutely.
More opportunities for players to develop.
For sure.
Yeah. This is a good one.
Yeah, I like that one.
All right, we've got a proposal coming from multiple clubs.
Okay.
And this one deals with kicking balls.
Okay.
So right now, teams can prepare regular footballs.
Regular footballs?
They can break them in, get them ready for game day.
Make them nice and soft?
Right, but they can't do that with the kicking balls.
With the kicking balls.
So these teams are proposing to allow teams to prepare those kicking balls as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that they're, broken in.
So they feel good.
And ready to go on game day.
To the kicker's liking.
And this is really about consistency in the kicking game.
Yeah, because, kickers, they're so particular about their equipment. Yeah. They want everything to be just right.
And so this would allow them to, break those balls and get them feeling how they
get the feel just right.
And hopefully lead to more predictable results.
More consistent field goals.
Right.
Extra points, kickoffs.
So maybe we'd see fewer of those
shanks,
those missed kicks.
Yeah, it's all about, getting rid of that variability.
Right.
Giving the kickers more control over their craft.
Okay, and finally, we've got a proposal from the Washington team that deals with scouting. So they want to allow teams to obtain scouting credentials for week 17 and 18 games of potential in-conference playoff opponents.
So if you think you might play a team in the playoffs, you can go scout them. In those last couple weeks of the season.
Okay. And they also want to require wildcard hosting teams to grant credentials to any in-conference playoff team.
So basically, everyone gets to scout everyone.
Everyone gets to scout everyone that they might potentially face in the playoffs.
I like that.
And this is all about,
about preparation. Leveling the playing field.
And making sure that teams have all the information they need.
All the intel.
To get ready for those playoff games.
Because those last couple weeks of the season. Teams are, resting guys. They're changing up their game plans.
Right.
It's hard to get a read on what they're really going to do in the playoffs.
So this would give teams a chance.
A much clearer picture.
Of what to expect.
Absolutely.
So there you have it.
Wow.
A whirlwind tour.
That's a lot.
All the proposed NFL rule changes.
Yeah.
And it's clear, this league's always always looking for ways to improve.
To make the game better. Safer. More competitive.
More competitive.
Yeah.
And even more interesting from a strategic standpoint.
Absolutely.
But it's important to remember.
Yes.
These are just proposals. None of this is set in stone.
They got to get voted in. 24 out of 32 owners.
24 out of 32 owners.
Have to say yes. It'll be interesting to see which ones make it.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see which of these ideas gain traction.
Yeah.
And actually become part of the game.
Because you got to think, even if just a handful of these pass.
Right.
It could really change things.
It could really change things up.
Yeah, the NFL landscape could look a lot different.
And that's what we're going to be watching for.
Absolutely.
So for all of you listening out there, think about these proposals.
Yeah.
Which ones do you like? Which ones don't you like?
Which ones are going to have the biggest impact?
And how do you think this is going to affect the game?
The game that we all love.
Going forward.
Yeah, great stuff.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Can't wait.
Into the NFL.